I'm going to be taking my first steps into the world of FPV and building and flying, hopefully, if the weather kind of holds, my first FPV drone. Something I have never had any experience in before, and I have no idea how it's going to go. The last couple of weeks, I've been flying in the simulator with my radio controller to practice and kind of get used to the idea of flying FPV. But from everything I've read, that does not translate that well to real life. Like I said before though, I don't have any experience in actually building an FPV drone. This is all new to me. It's been years since I've done any soldering, so this is all kind of fresh to me, and it's going to be an experience. But I thought it would be an interesting one to show you as I kind of build my first drone. So without further ado, let's jump straight over the table and see if I can build this thing without blowing up my house. So I'm just recording this at like midnight. I started at 5, so that gives you an idea of how well this is going. The big problem came, which was my ability to solder. What doesn't help though is using the not optimal kind of solder. I've been using this kind of cheapy stuff that came with an old soldering kit, and turns out this is probably lead free. And while that's, better for your lungs when you're leaning over your electronics, breathing it in, it's not really that great for soldering. It's actually not very good for just creating a good join between the cable and the rest of the circuit board. So yet again, I've got to go to one of the online retailers and order myself some more parts. All part, I guess, of the fun of learning how to build a drone yourself. Maybe I should have just bought pre-built. It's been a couple of days since my last update, but I come bearing good news. My solder, and also importantly, my practice soldering board have arrived. Just having done some practice now, having the proper solder, some kind of lead composite solder, 6040 is what this is, it's the TBS solder brand. It's actually insane the difference it makes. I can actually get the proper kind of tinning on wires, the actual proper beading on the pads, and I'm really confident going back into this build that I'm actually going to be able to complete it without destroying any more of my components. That is, if they're not destroyed already. We've got the motors on, we've got the flight controller, the speed controller, everything's soldered together, the camera's on. This is really daunting because this is the moment where I have to plug in the drone. I'll lift it up so you can see it. This is the monstrosity that I've built. Okay, this is the moment of truth. I don't really know how to tell if it blows up, but I guess we're about to find out. Oh my God, yes! Yes! That appears to be the sound of a successful drone booting up, which means I haven't blown anything up despite my absolutely shocking soldering, and I've actually got a working quadcopter. So my Fatshark Recon goggles are connected. You won't really be able to see it through there, but you can kind of see pretty well actually. If I wave my hand in front of the drone, it is working. That is my drone's camera pointing at my snacks on the table and the soldering tissue. We did it! Yes! We actually built a working quadcopter, even though it's still not quite assembled yet. And then it all went wrong. Really, really wrong. After I got everything working, the drone powering up, the goggles connecting, everything seemed to be going fine. So I took my drone over to my desk to connect it to Betaflight and get the configuration stages done. And that's where the problem started, because I'd made a pretty big wiring error. Instead of running power to my video transmitter's power in pin, I actually ran it to the power out pin. And to top it off, I powered it using less volts than it would actually be suitable for. This had the nasty effect of eventually causing my video transmitter to stop turning on. And this is when I realised my wiring error, so I corrected it, but instead of the correct fix, what I actually ended up doing was putting 9 volts into the same power out pin. And this had the dual effect of completely shorting out my power regulators on my flight controller and completely blowing out the circuitry on my video transmitter. So you can get a picture of what my mood was like at the time, and that explains why there's no footage of this point. But fast forward a week or so, I got replacement parts, I got everything up and working, and this time, being a lot more careful, we have a finished drone. Here it is. This is the beast. I haven't quite named it yet, but I think it's pretty impressive. Now, you may be able to tell from my different haircut and the lack of the horrible moustache that I had at the time that we're a few weeks on from then. And that's because I've been flying religiously for the last few weeks, trying to get my skills up, getting comfortable out in a big open field with my flying, and generally just having a great time flying FPV, which has been a great reassurance because I love flying, and it means that I didn't spend all of this money for nothing. So that's it, the end of my build journey. What's next? Well, like I said, I've been flying consistently when the weather allows, and I plan to keep on doing that. I'm going to put out a tips video soon, hopefully, with all of the kind of things I've learned over the course of building my own first FPV drone. But I guess my biggest takeaway is this. Whatever you do, when you're getting into a new technical hobby, don't rush into it. That's what I did, and that's what caused a lot of the issues that I had when building my first drone. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling. I hope you enjoyed watching me stumble through my first build of an FPV drone. If you did enjoy it, please like the video and subscribe to stay up to date with future updates. And without further ado, please enjoy this short clip of my first 3 weeks flying FPV.